Right, here we are, Gatwick Airport, start of our journey. Jamie Miller, Tom Flint, off to Toronto, Canada, to teach and be brilliant, to train and meet new people, learn new ideas, do some shooting and see Niagara Falls. We're getting ready for the flight, going through departures now, give you an update shortly. Right, here we are, just been through security. Accidentally put my fucking Spyderco UK legal in the bag. Conform to the measurement of less than 3 inches and non-lockable, but apparently too sharp, so they took it. Gutted, but I'll get a new one. You know, learned the lesson learned. Here we go, we're walking through. Here, we've got planes and that, and we're going to go and get on one, and we'll update you shortly. Right, here we go then, we're getting on the plane. This is it. This is that. Rent boy.
Catch the gormless moments.
Right, here we are on the plane. Say hello. Say hello. We're on our way. All being well. We'll come back when we get there. Right, so right into the flight. Don't recommend Air Transat. You got to pay for headphones if you want to listen to the media. You got to pay for a blanket. Ridiculous. Still, a couple of hours into the flight. So there we go. Right, here we are, just arrived in Toronto. We're here, we've landed, we're going through security, get our bags. Yep. Chilling, come on. Chilling, having a fag outside Toronto. First impression?
One turn. That one. That one's the 10. That's like. Oh! Nice. The red dot. Feels a little bit more comfortable. Shotguns are fun. Oh, Kyle. Film the snap. Shoot that.
Yeah, there you go. How long does that?
How do I get designated? Oh, yeah. Same as me.
Oh, I think I got black lung right now. Just got it.
Rob,
Is that everybody?
Don't mind those other outliers.
you're good where you are.
Beautiful. You got a nice grip. I want you to lean forward. Just like you did before was perfect.
Oh, it's good to go.
Get the hang of it. Make sure you lean forward, just like that. Just to the left. That's perfect. Still, I want you to aim for that right target. Perfect. On that front sight. That's it. Cover that balls up. Right-handed, I want to
Right, here we are at Premier Martial Arts in Hamilton in Canada. We're on a 2-day seminar. This is day 1. Today we're just going to cover combative introduction, work off principles. First thing we're going to learn is about predatory behaviour, the 3 key elements to self-protection. First of all, soft skills that relate to personal security, recognising pre-threat cues so that you can avoid an escape, the potentiality of learning good communication skills so that we can talk shit down. From there we get into the second element of the self-protection dynamic, which will be physical. Ideally, you're going to be proactively physical, so it's a proactive offensive dynamic. So we're going to look at preemptive strike, continuous attack, blitzkrieg, etc. From there tomorrow we're going to move on to the third element of the self-protection dynamic, which is counter-offensive, where for whatever reason I've missed the opportunity to go forward and to go first rather, and I'm reacting to something that you're doing. This is never the ideal, but this is the mainstream of most reality-based self-defense methods. So we're covering today combative principles and the 3 elements of self-protection at Premier Martial Arts in Hamilton, Canada.
You prick, don't I fucking know you? You don't fucking use a go in the problem. I'm going to fucking open you up, you cunt.
Hey man. Good. See?
Just for the sake of getting a good picture, so try and start it right from here, in your own time.
That's it, good. Yes.
Get down! Stand! This is the knees for me to flank. That's where I flank. Okay? Drop in with 1, he backs up, you posture.
Do it again, one more, real time.
You sorry, mate. No, fucking stay back! Don't fucking move!
It's Tom, day 2, your worst for wear. Jamie and his friend Mr. Sty. Come and say hello. Breakfast ain't too bad. Yeah, all good.
Keep it on the good side.
Good side? You don't have a good side. So we're in a Comfort Inn hotel in Canada, somewhere near Hamilton. This is day 2 of the seminar. Day 2 of the seminar. Just having breakfast. Going to be picked up by today's topics are multiple assailants, I think. No, multiple assailant drill principles and some maiming. Should be good. Then later we're off to Niagara Falls. Absolutely top hell. Right, just continuing our vlog. Just did day 2 of our seminar in Canada, in Hamilton. Working with the lads, working cover crash counter.
So break it down, do it slowly, get your partner comfortable, and then progress.
Tom's taking the floor at the moment, teaching cover crash counter. From there we're going to have Jamie do some drills on stacking and shielding principles. And we're going to finish up the day with maiming.
Don't just reach for him. Right? If I'm here covered, I have to reach. I'm opened up. Close the gap between the footwork. You punch it here. I don't have to reach. It's that quick movement. Show. See how I with that. So what I don't want you to do is start here close to the wall. So when he shoves me, there's nothing, right? There should be consequence if I get it wrong. Take about a step and a half away from the wall, that's where this line is. Now when he shoves me hard, if I don't default with where I am, I can't generate any fucking power from here. If we end up in an exchange, it only goes his way, right? So as soon as he shoves me from here, brace, so even if I hit the wall and come off it, now I can generate power.
Go on, you'll be all
We can go downstairs if you want.
right. Just keep it.
No,
Yeah.
Okay, so from here, all we're going to do exactly what we did, the drill we just did. He's going to shove me, he's going to keep punching me until I shut him down and stop him. Right? The difference is, it's going to start with my eyes closed and my hands down. The drill doesn't start until he shoves me.
You're not doing 15 spins?
I'll do 15 jumping jacks, I'll do upside down.
Yeah, got it.
From here, I'll just wait. Performance pressure.
You did all right, to be fair. Good. Good.
Your kick. Down, Mike.
Right, going to continue now. 2-on-1 principle, stacking and shielding. Jamie Miller's going to take the module, looking at the principle of stacking and shielding, getting two subjects in a line, so that you can deal with one whilst momentarily staying away from the other. And then the principle of shielding will be you clinch, hold the one and use him as a shield from the other. Good principle for a 2-on-1 multiple assailant kind of scenario.
Move myself outside. Yet again, if I freeze this here, momentarily I have him in this stack position. If I don't do something now, this will be lost. This is here for a fleeting second. If I stand here, he's not going to just stand there quietly and wait for whatever's going to happen. He's going to come back round the side, which means I'm back in the middle. So this would be a 2-on-1 with me in the middle, rather than a 2-on-1 or a 1-on-1 and then a 1-on-1. Okay. So this is pre-fight stacking. Okay. Also, what we're looking at is shielding. Okay. Shielding relates to me grabbing hold of one and using him as a shield. Okay. I can use him for cover. So if I've got Tom here, for example, if I've got him in this position and he tries to throw a shot over the top, yeah, I can use him for cover. Yeah. I can also use him as a battering ram by just pushing into him. Yeah. I can use him as a projectile where I just push him into him. Okay. This is called shielding. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of drills that relate to stacking and shielding. Fucking stay back! Don't fucking come near me! Okay? You can see, because of the consequence of him hitting me, I'm immediately turning to the outside. Okay? So do you understand the drill?
Do it one more.
Okay, one more. Yeah, but we're not going to add in him hitting me, okay? I'm just showing you that because you need to understand how quick I need to attach to him and turn it. Yeah? The reason I don't want him to hit at this stage is because if he goes to hit at this stage, now there's a need as he goes to hit for me to put a crashy cover drill with him. Okay, but you see what, straight away, what have I done again? I've got back to the steps. I don't know. All I've done to him is fucking pinched him, turned and kneed him in the bollocks. That might not be enough. These are two fucking alpha males, and couldn't be dealt with both of them. They ain't gonna fucking stop until they finish me. Okay, so it's important that I make sure that my shots are significant. Okay, ideal world is he is out, but I don't know. I don't know if my shot was that good, but he's unconscious, so I don't know what his response is gonna be. So the drill is one more time. I'm here. I'm gonna hit him, attach, turn, put him on the floor. Okay, and posture. I'm here. Fucking stay back! Okay, you get the idea? Yep. Stay there! Stay down! Guys, is there a problem here? Alright! Stay there! I will shoot! I will shoot! Go! Guys, I'm sorry, I didn't know what to do. Down! You're back! You see what like that. Alright, good.
Back the fuck up right now!
Right.
Or mauling, as it's often called, refers to the creation of tissue trauma injury. So literally tearing up the face, basically. Maiming is the art of ripping and breaking shit. That's what it is. So elements involved: gouging, ripping, tearing, poking, pressing, raking, shredding, which is Richard Dimitri's concept. What I'm going to show you isolates elements of this. If you want to look into it further, then I recommend that you look at Richard Dimitri's stuff, because he's taking it to a whole new level. What I'm going to do is give you the basics of it. It also incorporates biting and what we call small joint manipulation. So if you can imagine manipulating your whole hand onto one finger and then ballistically snapping it, this kind of thing. As well as ballistic manipulation of body parts, wrenching an arm, chin ripping the head, manipulating somebody's joints past their normal range of motion in a very violent and ballistic way. The objective is to create pain, tissue trauma, injury, and to manipulate the subject into a better position for you from where you can primarily strike. In UC, our primary thing is to use impactive tools, so we want to hit. Like I said to you yesterday, there's two ranges for conflict. One is conversation range, which is considered close quarters. From an armed military perspective, that could be 7 yards with a handgun, or it could be the end of a bayonet on a rifle. From an unarmed civilian perspective, close quarters is arm's length. So where you shake hands. Most human interaction happens from conversation range. This is where we meet and greet. Interpersonal violence happens from this close, less than 2 feet range also. So this is where you should learn to use all your tools effectively. If the range isn't managed effectively from this close quarters, it will escalate to what we call extreme close quarters, where one or the other subject will close the other down with the objective of stifling movement so that you can't hit me. Do you understand? So what we did earlier was an example of that, where you're beating on me and I'm covering not to get knocked out, and then very quickly I want to shut you down so you can't operate. This would be an example, almost chest to chest, face to face, of extreme close quarters, what's called ECQ. From this extreme close quarter range, which can happen vertically if you're standing up, or can happen on the ground, on a horizontal plane, or in a confined space, such as a vehicle. So if you're seated and this other guy's on top of you from the seat to the left or right, you would be confined and restricted in some way. So the availability to strike effectively is not there. To strike effectively, you need range, distance, torque for body mechanics. So striking is not the primary thing available to you when you are face to face or in your face. Can you picture that? What comes into play here is what's called secondary tools. Secondary tools include striking from a restriction, so you can still strike, but you're restricted. Also, ballistic manipulation, so for example, we're grabbing the head and rotating it from a very close range. Maiming, which is the element that we're going to look at, is considered a secondary tool, as is in-fight weapon access. So if you had some kind of improvised weapon from this very close range, this would be considered a secondary tool for us as UK civilians, because we're not allowed to carry weapons. So primarily, the tools that we're left with is what God give us, right? Use of the environment would also be considered a secondary tool, where I like bash your head into something. Walls, floors, corners and edges are all your friends. You should use these effectively. You should learn to employ all of your close quarter tools from in the confines of a phone booth. So imagine you're in the confines of a phone booth. Pretty much non-existent nowadays, but imagine the confines of a phone box. You should be able to fight and use all your tools from here. Personally, if I ever had to get involved in violence again, and I could choose the environment, which is unlikely, my favourite place to have a fight would be inside the confines of the phone box. Several reasons. 1, you can't get away from me. 2, all of my tools are available. 3, I can use the environment. Do you understand? So don't think of confined spaces as a negative thing. Think of it as a useful thing. There's pros and cons to fighting in an open space, and there's pros and cons to being confined within the realms of, let's say, an elevator or a lift. In terms of what we're practicing here, close quarter combatives, close quarter combatives happens at either this arm's length range or in your face. Do you understand? It's the in your face range that maiming belongs. So maiming, as I said, is a means to create tissue trauma injury. Understand that maiming by itself has no ballistic value. Understand pain tolerance can affect. Some people are extremely pain tolerant, some people are not. Certain things can reflect or change how pain tolerant somebody is. So if somebody's pharmaceutically assisted or highly intoxicated, they will feel less pain than if they were normal. Then you have the kind of person that has deep-lying receptor sites for pain. So that's usually a fat person. A fat person has deep-lying receptor sites because he has many layers of epidermis fat tissue on top of his musculature. In which case, in order for me to get an effect, I'd have to get really deep. Conversely to that, somebody who was relatively lean, low percentage of body fat, like a bodybuilder or somebody like that, all the nerve receptor sites are much further to the surface of the skin. Therefore, you get much more effect. But again, alcohol or drugs can affect pain tolerance. The other thing that can affect it also is if the person is massively adrenalized. Adrenaline anesthetizes you to pain and shock. So something you would normally feel, you might not feel under this kind of stress. Here's an example. I can remember in an all-out, full-on scenario, kicking somebody in the groin, and he managed to pike and drop his elbow, and the point of his elbow went right into my shin bone. Fucking painful. But in fight, didn't feel a fucking thing, and continued until he was dominated. Afterwards, massive bruise, lots of pain, limping for 2 weeks. But inside of the fight, didn't feel a fucking thing. Conversely to that, 5 o'clock in the morning, I wake up one night, sleep still in my eyes closed, walked to my bathroom to use the restroom, and en route to walk into the bathroom, my shin punted the edge of a coffee table. I dropped to the floor like a sack of shit and cried for my mum because I was in a totally relaxed state and instantaneously felt the immense pain. We use this slap and grab. Would be literally for me a slap, grab his love handles and just pull him. You know, just literally grab and seize fascia tissue and pull. Yeah? The example of a frontal, I'm glad you read that one. The example of a frontal palm strike into the face where now I seize my fingers over the top of his eyelids. So I strike into the face, grab this and hold on tight and then maybe rip. This would be quite an extreme thing to do, would it not? So how could I turn that level of force down, but use the same skill? Now maybe from a low profile perspective. Might be clothing allowing, because thick clothing will negate the effect. But a simple t-shirt like this palm strike into the face which then convulsively grabs into the eyes, could be employed into the chest where I grab his skin and now I just fucking pull it. I will get an effect. This is grabbing fascia tissue and mauling it. And most often it's just used to get to a better position so that you could do something else. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we all understand where it belongs. 3 reasons for its use. 1, from an anti-grappling perspective. 2, to enhance combative effect. 3, as a low profile means to control or get somebody in a better position. Do you understand? Do you want to play? Yes. Right. What we're going to look at then is some drills. First, Jamie's going to give you a warm-up. Before he does that, I want to show you a really good drill that you can do. The ideal would be that you had one of those little Pilates balls, about 3 pounds, the ones you weigh. You know the ones I mean? Also, maybe a lighter medicine ball. But what's also useful is a basketball. Because a basketball, although circumference is massively round, replicates the general size and shape of the head. The way that it can be employed is to enhance the element that you need most. And the element that you need most is tactile awareness. If you've only done any kind of art that employs tactile awareness, for example, Wing Chun employs this rolling hands kind of thing, Chisao, where you stay in contact and you're feeling sensitivity. Are you familiar with that? Anybody seen that? Example of Chisao would be, you'd often do it blindfolded, where we're rolling hands like this, and I'm looking for a point in his energy where I could shut him down and do something to him. Sexy as fuck. In terms of real world combative value, doesn't really have that much, but in terms of developing the attribute of tactile awareness, very useful. Another art that would employ a similar thing, although not a sensitivity drill, more of an energy drill, would be something like Ebook. So Hubod employs this kind of structure where we tie and untie. And basically what it does, it gives me the opportunity to do something and feel when the time is right. Does that make sense? Yeah. So if you've had any kind of background of this kind of martial method, it will enhance what we're doing now. But the best way in which you can learn is simply with a ball. And you're just going to simply, lighter there. Right. You simply take the ball like this and you start to just literally start rolling it around. Your hands, bring it up and down, inside and out. Just start rolling it around and getting sensitivity and feel. Getting a feel of what this feels like. Understand? You start to bring it into a bigger ball, but what this is eventually giving you is a combative translation. So here, for example, this function is very similar to a chin rip, is it not? You want to manipulate your head, coming up into a chin jab and ripping down, coming across and coming back, coming this way and this way. If I have your head down here like so, ripping your face here, getting the feel just of rolling around and feeling where this is, keeping your elbows tight, gives you a good tactile awareness of how you can rip and tear once you've seized the head. Does that make sense? So as an example of that, from here, if I was to, let's say, ballistically grab him here and reach for his head, that motion you've just seen with the ball would replicate this. If for whatever reason he was to fail this by grabbing it, I would immediately go to this and do something else. The action of grabbing the head is what we call seizure and capture. What I want to be able to do in order to rip, gouge and tear him ballistically without him escaping is to be able to capture him in something much like a bear trap. So I've got him here and his hand is here. From here I can rip with this. If he pulls down this hand, I go straight to this hand. Do you understand? Good jiu-jitsu player, if you grab their head in this way, you did not have this tactile sensitivity idea, will escape relatively easy. So an example from here might be if I'm here, you just pop underneath. So you could from here pop underneath and take my back. From here now, it's going to dump me, choke me out, armbar me, and punish me for trying. Do you understand? But if I have a good understanding of how to ballistically enter, so I'm not just going to do this when I can do this. Now when I hold him and I seize really tight and I'm making him up, it's very difficult for him to pop underneath because my tactile awareness enhances my capture. Does that make sense? Right. These things such as this, something that I suggest you look at. This idea came from Kevin Sikorsky, who is a combat systema practitioner. Now systema has a bad reputation, but everything has something. And this particular individual, who I encourage you to check out, has taken the very best elements that are available, added what's specifically his own, and made it extremely functional. So I suggest you check him out. Right, he's a Paladin author, he's done various things, he lives here in Canada I believe, but he has taken this idea to another level. So when you watch somebody playing with a ball, which is very common to Chinese type of martial art, it looks a bit flowery, with no understanding or application. But you can see the application from what I've just shown you, can you not? So these kind of drills, if you're interested in this kind of thing, I suggest you look at and use them to enhance your ability. When you start practicing with a ball like this, particularly something weighted, it starts to really pump blood into your arms and get you nice and warm. So it's a good warm-up. Follow that with some good stretching of the fingers, extending the forearm tendons, and getting everything ready and prepared. This would be a good thing to do before you start this kind of training. Right? The other good thing that you want to do is get an understanding of grappling itself. So I'm going to give you, pass you over to Jamie, and he's going to give you a few drills to get you familiar from a vertical grappling perspective. You're going to do some bullying, some pummeling, some tie swing drill, and what you want to be doing, rather than using strength, contests of energy, is learning to feel and yield. So the key to controlling somebody in a grapple is, if you push me, I'll pull you. If you pull me, I'll push you. I'll use your energy to my advantage. This is something from the martial arts that is useful and we can take. And the best grapplers of all are, the best tactile people of all, are people like who are good grapplers. Collegiate wrestlers, Greco-Roman people, particularly BJJ guys. Look at somebody like Hickson Gracie in his prime, the documentary Choke. This guy's got such internal body awareness that it would be very difficult to put him in a position that prioritised you, because he's got such good feel. But it's important that you have the basic understanding of grappling and capture. The idea here, when you do have that, is massively simplified. So if I wanted to brusquely grab your head, gouge your eye, bite your face, I want to be able to do that without you stopping me doing it. If I can ballistically do this effectively without you stopping me doing it, it will induce primal fear. You will want nothing but your mother's womb. Do you understand? So it's a very efficient way to overwhelm somebody, and it's a very, very efficient way for a smaller, younger person or a lady to deal with a larger, aggressive male, particularly if he doesn't know what the fuck's happening. Does that make sense? Right, I'm going to take you into some drills. Kind of material that you want to use for training, as I said, ideally would be a three-dimensional head, because it's important that you put in the concussive impactive shots, which you can't do on your partner. You have to control it, like I did. The other thing that you can employ is pads. Now when you use a pad, it would be a good idea to put something over it that would allow an attachment, something that would allow you to grab and rip. We've been experimenting with plastic grocery bags, but they just rip to fucking pieces really quick. So another idea might be some kind of cloth bag. So if I wanted to practice this slap and rip, or slap, grab and manipulate, shake your head round so I could beat it with the other hand, can you picture that in your head? Then something like a cloth bag over a pad would allow me to grab, seize, gain purchase and manipulate to where I want. So a pad with a cloth bag would work well. Or a pad with 3 or 4 layers of plastic would give you the feel of ripping and tearing something. It's not the consistency of the skin, but it will give you an idea of the feel. So what you want to do, you want to start with impact, main this fucker, then finish with impact. Do you understand? This is how you're going to get the biggest bang for the buck, so to speak, pardon the pun. Right, from here, this position, I'm going to capture the head here. I'm going to capture it with this hand and pull it ballistically with a half beat onto this shot. Yeah? So let's say your hands up when you're this close to somebody, somebody's imposing their will, or you're feigning capitulation deceptively, your hands were here. Obviously, if somebody grabbed your hands by both wrists, in this case, then branch. Headbutt their knee, then get a hand free. Do something else. Do you understand? But if my hands are up in this passive way, and he's asserting dominance here, then congruently I look like I'm about to capitulate, which makes him comfortable with my hands in proximity to his face. That's good for you, bad for him. If I could strike with this palm strike, boom, just like this, I could get a medium effect. But I create a collision effect, again another principle, if I could pull him onto it. When I strike him, I would aim with this part of the palm somewhere on the platform with his chin, and I would aim the fingertips, not prints, tips, into the proximity of these two cavities. From here I would look to latch over on the eyelid and then literally drop my body weight as I rip his fucking face. Can you see the deal? So I'm here to replicate that. This again is where you could use layers of plastic bag to get that feel. You just kind of pull and drop weight as you strike. So the first count is the entry. The entry is concussive. There's nothing telegraphic about it. I'm not going back to come in. I'm literally from here, as Dimitri's analogy would say, imagine this is a sheet of metal and your hands are magnets. I'm literally going to just here latch on. Once I've concussively latched on, I'm going to rip down. Right? So I'm entering with impact. So we're here. 1, 2. 1, 2. Then I finish with impact. So I'm going to go here. 1, 2, 3. So I'm in effect doing the humans are like. See the deal? See how somebody smaller can maximise their effect by doing that? So I'm hitting, ripping, hitting. So here's the dynamic. First count will be hit, enter, stay. From there, don't just do this. Unweight your feet. As I unweight my feet, I'm latched over his eyelids, I will now rip them off his face. And from there, put in this elbow shot. So you're going to attach, rip, elbow. Got it? Let's try it. 1. Good. Pull him onto the elbow. Bury the elbow. 2. Again. 3. Linear strike is what you call a piston. It's particularly a piston if you hit and retract. Here I'm just hitting and latching on. But height dependent, if he's taller than me, I might not, which is most people, I might not be able to hit linear. Or if he's really close and my hands are here, I might have to come up to come down. In which case, throw the old classic World War II chin jab. Come straight up and under. So this trajectory you used just now is the trajectory of a straight punch. This trajectory you're going to use now is the trajectory of an uppercut. Yeah? And the difference is the drill bit. The classic chin jab comes up. You put your hand back, like a platform for the chin and jawbone. You can use it as a jabbing structure where you just go and release. This shakes the brain convulsively and will knock him out on his feet. In the World War II period of time, it was employed much more ballistically. It was employed where I would literally take it fucking off his shoulders. You go horizontal, back of his head impacts the pavement, and from there you crush his head with your boot. This was the rules of engagement of war, which was eliminate the enemy. This doesn't belong here. You understand? But we still want a decent effect. So from this very close range, the motion is going to, I'm going to check his arm, he can't get away from me, and I'm going to fire this shot straight up under his chin. Right? From here I could latch the eyes, but I prefer the lip. So from here all you're going to do after you hit him here is grab his lip, and then just rip it off his fucking face, and tear it straight down. So it looks like Bubba Swing. I was born with big arms, so. So literally here, boom, lift up, grab this. There's no danger of him biting you once you clasp his fucking skull. He's not thinking about fuck all but self-preservation. I'm not looking to go, give us that lip. Do you know what I mean? Incidentally, when I said to you about using a lower level of force, I'll show you how to attack the eyes and the mouth. But one really good way also to get somebody out of the seat, particularly if they were born with big guns, is to literally grab the lip and fucking pull. Just pull like so. Like that. Very nasty. And from here what we're doing, we're chin jabbing, we're hooking over it like this, and we're ripping it down. But we're starting concussive. And then from there, we're going to rip down, and then from there we're going to finish with impact. So from here the idea would be I chin jab, grab this, rip it, and then boom, hit the groin. Understand? So you might need, let's say, 2 pads for this. Can you grab another pad? Keep that one there, keep this one here. Yeah. This one now has a little cant to it, because it needs to provide a platform for the chin and jawbone. Right? So you've got one ear like that, one ear like that. From here I'm going to check this, I'm just going to rip, and then simulate this, and then hit the groin. Understand? So literally I'm going up, rip, literally up, grab, rip, slap. Got the deal? Mm-hmm. Right, with your partner, 3. My chest, his back. Here. This way. You do that by controlling the head. Once I'm here, I can manipulate, rip, gouge, tear his face out. Right? First of all, understand the weapon formation. This straight finger by itself in a straight structure is weak. If I put a stiff curve to it, and then I turn it this way, pull it by my palm, just do that. It's relatively strong. So imagine that, or that, or that. Yes? Now put 2 together. Real strong. Curve, pull in with pads of your fingers. In this kind of configuration, it's relatively strong. Now imagine all of them together, okay? In this kind of configuration, so remember, ballistic entry. So if I wanted to intervene, understand intervention. This guy's giving somebody who I want to help a problem. I would concussively enter. So I would slap both sides of his ears, then take 1, 2, or all right deep into the cavity of his eyes. Do you understand? That's what I would do. This kind of configuration, 1, 2, or all, is what you will use to rip, gouge, tear. Using your thumb, bending it to a digit, you will use your thumbnail to drive deep into the corner of the cornea one side or the other, into the corner of the eye rather, one side or the other, sink it to the first knuckle, then drop weight and rip it across. When you get any agitation to the eye, you will tense that fucker right up, and you will recoil from the source of agitation. But if the guy's right here in your face, what is the point of gouging his eye in the first place? To hurt him, to create space, so now I can headbutt my elbow. If he was already there, I'd just elbow, I wouldn't gouge. Not sadist. It pattern interrupts the bite, doesn't it? But I don't need to go in the mouth. What I need to do is just smile. Let's find the contours. If I find a contour, one finger here, I'll put it, or two, or all. I can pull this and pull that. I can take one or both nostrils. If I take this configuration of my fingers and I stick it one side of his trachea, relax, one side of his trachea here, deep, here, and now I anchor a point here, so maybe I take the nose as a ledge. And I ballistically pull this way as I rip this way. I'll dislodge his trachea. Or I can take this structure as a C-clamp and just put him to sleep. Do you understand? So it's gouging, raking, ripping, tearing, or crushing, as well as biting. This is maiming. Understand? Yeah. The best way to do it effectively is to get this chest to back position. So I'm going to show you how to get it. One way to get it from here is literally just to through to the flank and do what you did yesterday. But now instead of this push-pull ballistic taking him to the ground, I'll push-pull and smother. I'll take him here, I'm smothering him now. Well, obviously he's going to go mannequin, he's going to do something, so I'm going to be operating. So it's here, I can crush, break, right, slide, and here, do all this shit. Slap the back of his head onto my knee, bounce it to the floor. Everything I do from this position will be really quick and really aggressive. Understand? So I'm going to give you this skill. We're going to first practice it with impact. So take a pad. What we're going to work first is this part. So remember yesterday, this push-pull to control. Now I'm smothering here. This is one way in which I could do this. Let's say you have two friends. Say they give me a problem here, so stand there. Right, okay, fuck off. Right, here's the alpha male, your two mates are coming on, I managed to get here, now I'm here. Let's go. Take him as a hostage. If I had a weapon now, I'll put it to his neck. Even if I had a tactical pen, I'd stick it right up his fucking snot box. And I'd tell him I'm going to make him meet his brain if you don't tell his friends to fuck off. If I could get myself out of a dangerous environment, put him on the floor and then run with this skill set. Taking a hostage is useful in a multiple situation. Do you understand? But the only way I'm going to induce it is to put primal fear into him, primal fear into them. If they still come, they didn't give a fuck about you, did they? And at least I've got the numbers down. Here, what am I doing? What does it take us back to? Here, shielding. Yeah, I'm stacking. Barrier run. Any number of things. But chest to back is the best way. So the way in which you would get it, you could just take it from here, literally ballistically enter and turn, like you just did. Or I could just flank and ballistically enter and turn. Strikes like a fight, doesn't it? Yeah. Right. So to get it, here's the thing. I want you to get it concussive. So you're going to face your pad. You're going to push with your left, pull with your right. So you're just going to get this. This. Then you're going to pull the back of this, which is his head, to this position. Now you're smothering. From here, just going rip, fire. Understand, Joe? One more. From here, push, pull, like you did. Rip, fire. You try this? Yeah. Look.
Again. Or breaks his fucking neck uninterrupted. And what I'm looking for is he's going to pull away and I'm like, oh, and pull away. Okay? As soon as I get this, the next stage is we're going to add our shit in when we get back to our physical. Okay? So, we're grappling around, just moving about here, and then find the grappling around. That's what I want. You see him pulling away, this is what I want. If he's not doing this, give him a little nibble. See if he then does it, okay? Because the next bit is we're adding the hard skills back in. So I want to create that space so that I can get back to impact.
Back up. Go! And go on, right, switch it. Okay, this brings us to the close of 2 days, right? Just all that remains is for me to quickly debrief you. So all we looked at on day 1 was an understanding of predatory behaviour from the 3 keys of self-protection, 3 elements. First element being personal security, soft skills, having good awareness, good pre-threat cue recognition, leading us towards evasion, escape, avoidance, verbal de-escalation. And we looked at the 2 other elements, both physical. First being proactive physical dynamic, where if this is going to get violent, it's in your interest to do something before they do something. So proactive use of force. We looked at that as the 2 components mainly yesterday. Today we started with the 3rd element of self-protection, which is counter-reactive, reactive use of force, where you're attacking me first and now I have to do something. As I said to you before, the majority of reality-based self-defense practice only this element when you're being attacked and what you can do. Really, it's the least efficient of the 3 elements. Much more efficient is for you to be proactive. Much more efficient for that is you to avoid it in the fucking first place. Does that make sense? And that's based on becoming more savvy, more intelligent, more street smart, right up to the point of looking to become a tier 1 fucking civilian, where you are, proactively seeking skill sets that will allow you to deal with violence that comes your way. What we looked at today was elements of dealing with multiple assailants. So we looked at the principles of shielding and stacking. We looked at the principle of cover, crash, counter. Finally, we finished with maiming, the use of secondary tools, biting, gouging, ripping, tearing, and where they belong. They belong in 3 areas. Anti-grappling as a means to enhance your combative skill if there's a height, weight, and strength disparity, and as a means to use low-profile skills effectively by turning the level of force down. Now we're at the end of our time together. All that remains is for me to thank you for having me here. Appreciate you giving up your weekend and being here. You all worked really hard. You all had a really good work ethic and trained well. Hope you got something from it. Just want you to, if you would, put your hands together for my boys Jamie Miller, and also big thanks to Tom Drake for hosting us. Also big thanks for use of your great venue, sir. Appreciate that. Yeah, I hope to see you all again at some point. Outside of that, take care. Peace. Thank you.
Ship.
We're at the ship. We just had some nice food. Chilling with some bitches. No, just chilling with my mates. We had a nice burger, black and blue.
Very good.
Oh, now we're going to find a pub.
Oh yeah.
Everybody say hello. Hello, hello, hello. Right, here we are on the last day in the Bass Pro hardware fishing shop. We're going to look around and see, get a souvenir, go home. And we're going to go and look at Niagara Falls. Check out this place near Niagara Falls, look. Got a great dinosaur play area. Back here we've got zombie attack. We can go in and knock zombies out left, right and centre. Great stuff. Here I am by Niagara Falls. What an amazing sight. Really incredible. Imagine it in the summer, it'd just be awesome. Even a bit clearer than this, but superb. You see at Niagara Falls. Remember, just remember, an old bear is still a fucking bear. Fan of Tim Hortons that does decent double espresso. Bonus.
And what's really scary is there's no turning back. Once you're in, you're in.